I never imagined I'd be raising my daughter alone at 32, but life has a way of surprising you. My wife and I met at a local food festival where she was volunteering at an animal rescue booth. She worked as a veterinary technician at one of the city's biggest animal hospitals, while I had a steady job at a software company and did freelance web design on weekends. Everyone in our community knew her as the dedicated volunteer who spent extra hours helping at animal shelters. She had this way of making both people and animals feel comfortable around her. My friend Jake, who introduced us, told me she was different from other people he knew, focused on helping others and not caught up in social media drama. When we started dating, it felt right. She was warm, caring, and shared my values about family and community service. We dated for 14 months before getting married in a small ceremony. A year later, our daughter Emma was born, and I thought we had everything figured out. The first sign that something wasn't right came when Emma was 6 months old. I was out helping my friend Travis set up his new business website one Saturday. When I stopped at the grocery store on my way home, I got a call that Emma had been hurt. I rushed back to find my daughter crying with a hurt arm. My wife said she had asked my cousin Ryan, who was just 7 and visiting for the weekend, to watch Emma while she ran to the neighbor's house. Looking back, I should have questioned why my wife was dressed up so nicely just to visit a neighbor. But at that moment, all I cared about was getting Emma to the hospital. The doctor confirmed her arm was fractured, and while they treated her, Ryan's story about what happened didn't match what my wife had told me. But with Emma needing care and attention, I pushed my doubts aside. Over the next year, things started changing at home. Despite both of us working similar hours as before, the house began to fall apart. I come home to find dirty dishes piled up, laundry left wet in the washer, and basic tasks undone. It wasn't about being perfect. Everyone gets behind sometimes, but this was different. The worst part was finding Emma's used diapers left in random places around the house. We argued about it, but I always tried to make peace afterward. I didn't want our 5-year age gap to make her feel like I was lecturing her. I suggested we create a schedule or hire some help, but she'd get defensive and change the subject. Still, I never suspected she was being unfaithful. I trusted her completely, even when things weren't perfect between us. Then came the Wednesday that changed everything. I left work early with a migraine, planning to take some medicine and rest. As I turned onto our street, I noticed a white maintenance van from Quality Home Services parked in our driveway. This was odd since I hadn't scheduled any repairs. I had to park behind the van since it was blocking the way. Walking up to the house, I heard sounds from inside that made my stomach drop. I pushed open the front door and stood frozen at what I saw. My wife and the maintenance worker were on our living room sofa, and Emma was sitting on her playmat just a few feet away, playing with her blocks. I grabbed Emma first, my hand shaking as I picked her up. Then I turned to the maintenance guy and told him to get out of my house immediately. He scrambled to get dressed and ran out. My wife started crying and begging, saying she'd made a terrible mistake and it would never happen again. But I knew better. The way they acted, how comfortable they were in our home, this wasn't their first time. Then it hit me the day Emma broke her arm. My wife hadn't gone to any neighbor's house. She'd been with him and left our baby with a 7-year-old who had no idea how to care for an infant. She kept crying and pleading, grabbing my legs and following me around the house as I packed a bag for Emma. She was more worried about her reputation at church and in our community than about what she'd done to our family. That's when I had an idea. Fine, I said. I won't file for divorce on one condition. You have to tell everyone the truth. Your parents, our church group, your friends at the animal hospital. Everything. She agreed immediately, probably thinking she could make up a lighter version of the story. I told her to leave the house that night and stay with her friend. I kept Emma with me. There was no way I was letting my daughter stay anywhere else after what I'd just seen. The next day, I called the maintenance company. They weren't happy to hear what their employee had been doing on house calls. I had photos of his van in my driveway and timestamps from my home security system showing how long he'd been there on multiple occasions. The truth came out over the next few weeks. My wife had been seeing him since that first time, when Emma got hurt. She'd been scheduling unnecessary repairs whenever I was usually at work. Some of our neighbors even mentioned they'd seen his van several times but assumed we were having work done on the house. When she told her family, it went worse than she expected. Her parents, who had always been proud of their perfect daughter, were devastated. They'd bragged about her to everyone at church, about how she was such a devoted mother and wife. When they learned she'd endangered Emma by leaving her with a child just to meet her lover, and then later had him over with Emma in a room, they couldn't even look at her. The divorce wasn't as complicated as I feared. I had clear evidence of her affair and negligent behavior with Emma. The timestamps from our security cameras, the maintenance company's service records, and the medical report from Emma's broken arm all worked in my favor. Her own confession to her family and church community sealed the deal. In court, I focused on Emma's safety. I explained how my wife had left our 6-month-old with a child who couldn't possibly know how to care for a baby. Then there was the incident of having her lover over while Emma was in the room. The judge was especially troubled by these details. When the custody decision came, I was awarded full custody of Emma, with my wife getting supervised visits twice a month. The maintenance worker lost his job, but I heard through mutual friends that they still saw each other sometimes. I didn't care anymore. My focus was on giving Emma a stable life. We moved to a different neighborhood, and I found a new church community that didn't know our history. I wanted a fresh start where Emma wouldn't have to hear whispers about what happened. My wife's parents cut contact with her completely. They still send Emma birthday cards and Christmas gifts, but they told me they couldn't forgive their daughter for throwing away her family and putting Emma in danger. I never badmouth my wife to Emma. She'll form her own opinions when she's older. The first year after the divorce was tough. Being a single dad meant learning to balance everything on my own. I switched to remote work 3 days a week so I could be more available for Emma. My friend Travis helped me find a good daycare near our new house, and his wife often watched Emma when I had late client meetings. 2 years have passed since then. Emma is doing great. She's a happy, energetic kid who loves her dance classes and has lots of friends at school. About 6 months ago, I met someone through a single parents group in our new church. She has a daughter, Sarah, who's the same age as Emma. They became best friends almost immediately. We're taking things slow, very aware that we're not just building a relationship between two people, but potentially bringing two families together. She understands my trust issues, and I understand her caution about introducing new people into her daughter's life. We spend time together as a group, taking the girls to the park, having movie nights at home, or going on small day trips. Sometimes I think about how different my life is now from what I'd planned. I never expected to be a divorced single dad in my mid-30s, but I've learned that life's biggest challenges can lead to unexpected blessings. Emma and I have a strong bond that might not have developed if I'd stayed in an unhappy marriage. We have a new community that accepts us as we are, and maybe, just maybe, a chance at a new kind of family happiness. The other day, Emma asked me if I was happy. Looking at her playing with Sarah, seeing how much she's grown and thrived despite everything, I could honestly say yes. It's not the life I thought I'd have, but it's turned out to be exactly the life we needed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.